You'll have to ask it in live. Good morning, everybody. I think it's still morning. And we are on episode 5. No, let me do this right. It is season 5, episode 1. Max, you are kicking off episode 1 of season 5. So congratulations.
Good to hear.
Do you want to ask your question now? Because I'd be glad to answer it.
Oh, can I drink my
Of course,
thing on? Okay.
I've got my
Yep.
coffee. Sandy might have
Okay, sweet.
hers, so yes. This is just a
Yes.
casual conversation. We want you to have fun. Okay, so Sandy, have you got a quote for us today?
I do. Bring love wherever you go. Shine light wherever it's dark. Leave blessings wherever you've been. Be kind wherever you are. And that's by Mary Davis. I love that. That covers all the bases, doesn't it?
That's a good one. That's a good one. And I think that kind of epitomizes Max. He's kind of a ray of sunshine wherever he goes.
I can
So
see that already.
This is Maximilian Maguire. He is my grandson. And I want you to notice how he spells his name. I used to call him Max Make a Million Maguire because that's how I remember Maximilian. But I did have to learn how to spell it when he was born. So, Max, welcome to the bridge. Max and his friend Bailey, who we talked to just a little bit ago, helped me actually get this podcast launched because we were sitting around the dining room table and I was kind of complaining because I couldn't figure out how to edit the the audio stuff. And they just kind of showed me a real shortcut. I don't know what we did, but it got us launched, Max. So thank you very much. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my name is Maximilian Maguire. I'm now a sophomore at Montana State University in Bozeman. I guess I don't even know. I'm a big advocate for being yourself and trying new things. I think that everybody should have leadership in their life, and I don't know. I don't have
Okay.
much to say.
Oh, you just wait. We'll get you going. So I heard that you're an advocate for being yourself and also trying new things. I'm going to recraft those into leadership words, and I'm just going to ask you how it lands on you. Being yourself, not only for you, you need to be yourself, but you advocate for others to be themselves. And a big word for that I call it is being authentic. Just be real. Because if you aren't real, people know it. And I'll bet you can think of some people in your life that are phony or inauthentic.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's important. Yeah, absolutely. And the second one is try new things. Me as an older lady, I like to always say, I want to be a lifelong learner. I want to learn something always. It keeps me open. It keeps my brain healthy. And you are a learner. You like to learn things. And tell us about that. Tell us you learned a few things this year as a freshman in college, but you've kind of been learning your whole life. Tell us a story about a time when you tried something new and you either learned that you liked it or you didn't.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess like in my like during middle school, um, I guess at the end of middle school, going into COVID, I was gonna try ultimate frisbee, which eighth grade had already been a very hard year for me for whole different reasons, but and then COVID only made it worse.
Yeah.
And so going into high school, my freshman year, I've been doing frisbee for maybe 5 years or so, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. But I went into high school frisbee and I had a very difficult time, and I tried my best to get over the hump and make new friends and everything like that. But I learned that sport and that community was not my cup of tea anymore, I guess, for sure. And I think I realized that socially and um I guess physically. I mean, just a lot of they were better than me, and like they just weren't my crowd anymore, which was
Yeah.
a hard learn in that turning point in my life at 14 or something like that. But for sure, I think that moving on from that, I think I've made myself into put myself in different and better communities that I do appreciate and everything like that. And so I think I've learned from that.
I think middle high is a tough time for a lot of kids, Max. I think you're not quite an adult, but you're not a little kid anymore. So you're in that in between, and all those whole hormones start kicking in, and you just got a lot of changes going on in your life. And it seems like it was a tough time for me too, trying to figure out who I was going to be going forward. And I think a lot of people deal with that.
Yeah.
Right. And coming out of COVID, it was tougher for other reasons because you're isolated and you're coming into a brand new crowd. But let me tell you, for life and learning about yourself, knowing who your crowd is and who your crowd isn't is very, very important. And
Right.
you mentioned, maybe partially it was just, the friendships didn't click, and that has
Mhm.
nothing to do with you. It just, you didn't belong there. And then
Okay.
the skills that you had to do athletically just didn't match who you were. And so, how have you carried that forward? What do you look for when you meet new people and maybe come into a new crowd? What are things that you listen to now that maybe you weren't so sure of back then?
I was I think I have developed, I guess, a way of realizing when I'm pushing too hard and when they're not giving anything back, right?
Right. Right.
Okay.
So I think I've developed I don't know, an ability to understand other people's what they're thinking. I mean, to an extent, but just like the ability to see how far one of us is pushing or like giving to each other, and if I'm not seeing the same or if I'm not seeing the reciprocation,
Right.
then
Hmm.
I know that that's not the relationship for me.
Right. Relationships are two-sided. If you're
Exactly.
there by yourself, it's not a relationship.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you that skill is really has to do with empathy and knowing, I'm giving out and I'm not receiving back. There's something wrong with this picture. Um,
Hmm.
in my experience, not personally so much, but as a boss, there have been people that worked for me that didn't fit. And it was really hard to convince them that they needed to go to a different fishbowl, I used to call it. If you don't fit into your fishbowl, sometimes they go to a different fishbowl and they excel. But you need to know that, and you've learned that at a really early age, and you're able to articulate it. And that's going to be important not only in finding groups of people that you work well with, and also in personal relationships. You need that flow has to happen, the give and
Yeah.
take. Yeah. So um, that's a huge lesson. And has that has that helped you this your freshman year? Have you had some examples this year?
Yeah, 100% for sure. Um, so my floor, we were for sure like we were told by RA at the end of the year that we were like the one of one kind of dorm floor on campus. So we all hang out every day, um, everything like that. And there's 62 kids on the floor, so it was very busy. Stuff like we had a great time, but with there being 62 kids each floor, there's obviously going to be some people I do not, I guess, not like, but
Just don't connect with as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Just don't connect.
Mhm.
And I mean, it comes from, I don't know how I found my friends were, they were first off my neighbors, and they
Mhm.
invited me over to their dorm, and it instantly clicked. It was very casual conversating. Didn't have to like ask them too many questions. I didn't have to get asked too many questions, especially because this first week we were very chill. We just like kind of hung out. It was very chill. But everybody else was like, or especially on the other side of the floor, we're just kind of like, they're all kind of in your face, which I definitely was not getting that vibe, I guess, for sure. But so I don't. It's just kind of it was very easy for me to like filter through
Mhm.
the kids, I guess,
Mhm.
because a lot of them, I mean, they're a lot of crazies for sure. There being 62 kids,
Freshman, yeah, freshman, freshman. Yeah.
so but I mean, I found it was very easy to find people to connect with, since and especially how mature people were. Um, like I feel like I would connect with the people who were also mature enough to like kind of not. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I don't know if I have an exact example, but the kids on my floor, I think I had an
Yeah.
easy time sorting through.
So does that sense come to you kind of through your gut, or is it just conversational, or what are some signals internally that this is a good match, this isn't a good match?
Yeah. Well, it's not, I never go off my gut. I don't want to judge a book by its cover. Um, because I mean, some of my friends, some of my best friends at home in Seattle are way like 2 years ago. I'm not. I'll be bold faced. I didn't like them, but
Yeah.
I've turned the leaf on people, and I do hold that account myself accountable for that. I don't hold grudges, or I try not to. I try my best. Um, and so I guess what I do is I think I have a conversation with them, and I express my interests and hope they express theirs. And I think I just go off like, if the conversation has a natural flow and there's aligning interests, then I think it'll work out perfectly. But if one isn't to par, then
Mhm.
but never
Yeah.
like, I won't ever not like you, but I mean, maybe we just aren't meant to be best friends.
Right.
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 Right. Yeah, so you kind of dig a little deeper. You don't just slough them off because the first impression wasn't any good. You dig a little
Yeah.
deeper and see if they're willing to engage with you. That, boy, I'm trying to think of a good leadership word for that, but it's very good in a boss to not assume things about other people, and to maybe inquire, being a good inquirer and a good listener. It really is being a good listener. Sandy, any
I was
notices
just
about
gonna
that?
I was just gonna say comprehensive is the word that popped into my mind. Is comprehensive means that you don't just scratch the surface and then say no. Comprehensive means that you're kind of searching and you're looking and you're trying to notice and see, but being comprehensive about it. And I could tell you a story, Max, where when I had seen this gal at church when I had just remarried and moved into the area, and I saw her at church from a distance, and she, carried herself very straight, and I thought I assumed in my mind that she was kind of a snob. And I got this job as the director of early childhood education out at the school where my kids were going. And they said, we have somebody that we want you to meet that is looking for a job. And who is it but this gal? I'm thinking, oh no, because I didn't put the name to the person because I didn't know people yet, right? And I thought, oh man, she was one of my best buddies. We worked really well together, and I probably came from a more emotional side, but she filled in those gaps. We were good together as a team, and I always think about how wrong I was making assumptions about this person and not being comprehensive in finding out who she was. And we worked together for 12 years, and she ended up being my assistant director, and we ran a good program together.
That's good.
That
That's, I
yeah,
mean,
that yeah, that flow between team members or just group members is really, really important. I
Mhm.
want to share a story that where I was the person that was judged, and and what it did to me about, you know, it put some boundary, probably some assumptions in my head. Um, I was, I think, let's see, I was probably in my mid 20s, and we lived in a really little house. I had at least two dogs, and I had two young babies. And I had my husband worked seven, well, not seven, 6 days a week. He was very, very busy. And I had this chaplain guy from a church drop by to just say hello. Of course, he didn't tell me he was coming, he just came. And, you know, I was busy and crying babies. And I opened the door, I let him in and just said hello. And he made some comment about what a disheveled house I kept. I mean, it was some judgment about my house, and you know what I mean. He was just, I thought he was rude, and I don't know, maybe he thought he was being instructive or something. But I'll tell you what, I didn't try that church. They
No.
were not my people. You know what I mean? There, and so it's both sides. It's not good to judge. It's good to give people an opportunity.
Mhm.
exactly.
So I want to push, yeah. So I want to push this over to kind of the role you're playing now. You're a coach now, a swimming coach,
Yeah.
and are you teaching lessons too?
I'm gonna get into that soon. Probably it's probably starting once it's morning practices.
Okay. So how are you going to bring that team building and or find your coaching practice and your teaching?
Yeah, for sure. Uh, I think. Well, I'm starting to connect with all the kids. I mean, I've been coaching for, I guess this is my second week, second full week, or no, this is my third full week. Yeah, third full week. Going into my fourth, and so I'm finally starting to develop like connections with like all of the younger kids, which is the most important part.
Right.
Like all the eight and unders, the dev team, the 9-10s, because those are the kids I will be coaching once it becomes to the meets and everything like that. So I'm trying my best to get a strong connection with those kids, and I feel like I have been, even though it is such like a weird relationship, because I mean, like I'm their coach, and it's like, but it's a whole different ballpark from my kind of mind to get around, because just a year ago I was these kids captain,
Hmm.
um, and the year before that I was just another swimmer on the team.
Different
So
role.
yeah, this month has been very hard for me to hard, but I mean fun, challenging kind of difficulty, like switching that role to go to the other side of coaching and telling the kids to swim instead of being the kid that's looking at the coaches and get it going to swim. Um, I mean, like I've forgotten to clock out like basically every day. It's kind of bad, but I'm getting better on that. Trust me. Um, but I think, and also I think remembering that they are 8 years old, they
Hmm.
are, they're just kids. So you can't really take anything with that too deeply, because it'll only make you dislike a kid for being a kid, which
Yeah.
realistically you can never hate. You can never like, they're just being themselves, because I was doing the exact same stuff when I was a
Right.
youngster.
Right. Yeah. It's
So
important to remember from whence we have come, right?
exactly. So I
Yeah.
guess just again, kind of not judging the kids, like whether either, whether they're being disrespectful to me. I mean, like just anything I'll let go, because I mean, they're 8 years old.
Yeah. Max, did you have a special teacher or a special adult in your life that really impacted you that you can remember?
Um, yeah, there are two teachers, I'd say. One teacher was my math teacher for sophomore year. His name was Mr. Ware at Roosevelt High School. He was a phenomenal person who
Mhm.
could connect with you on any level, whether you were uh, the most out there, out of the book guy, or like the most self self protection, like
Right,
close
right,
everything out. He
right.
could connect with anybody on the world and with ease too. He wouldn't bat an eye. So I thought I've liked him for a long time, and he taught me geometry, which was pretty cool.
Mhm.
But nonetheless, not besides the math part, I mean, he's just a great
Yeah.
person and is such a great connector that he was able to get a whole class of 32 15-year-olds engaged and active in his class,
That would be tough.
which is hard for any teacher to do, and he's been the only teacher that I've seen to able to do it.
Right.
And then another teacher and my swim coach for high school is Brenda Thompson. She was my IEP I guess case holder. So she took care of all my like learning disabilities and like the needs I would get for that.
Mhm.
So she was a great asset and help to me throughout schooling. So she was always there for me and that sort of stuff. And being my swim coach and me being the swim captain for 2 years and like the whole
Right.
9 yards, I've formed such a great relationship with her, and how she's always I mean, she's a single mom, 3 kids. She's a great human, and she always comes to practice. She always comes to school. She's always ready to show up for you,
Yeah.
and she's very, and even though she's so busy, she'll still show up for you, and she'll be there for you, which is very nice and reassuring as
Awesome.
an adult, or like a
Right.
a figure.
So you can channel those people and those skills or those attributes from those people that made a difference to you, and you can carry that on and forward it. You end up becoming their legacy because you see the value in who they were, what they did, how they showed up, like you said, and you can carry that on in your own way to the kids that are the people that you impact in your world.
Yeah.
Right. So what you said with both of these people is that they were great humans. They were great human beings. And
Yeah.
I would say that you also said they were both great connectors. Anything else that why you said they were great? What other qualities did they have? They all showed up for you. They were able to handle any situation. I mean, they were motivators because they knew you well. Anything
Yeah.
else that why you said they were great humans? I like that term, great humans.
Well, I think, I'll just go off Brenda for this case, but I think she's a great humor. She can, she would coach. I don't know. I think it was 60 something kids, 60
Wow.
something teenage boys at 6 a.m. in swimsuits, not wanting to get in the pool, and we'd all get in the pool within the first minute of practice. So she could somehow do something, and we would all listen, because I don't know if it's because she's a mom and she she like just has that authority, but she was just she was so friendly in how she would talk. She would never be threatening, and she was always just trying to do the best for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted other people to get the spotlight at all times, which as a
Okay.
coach, that's
Well, she established credibility with her team, Max, and that doesn't happen overnight. It's a building a relationship that creates that safety net that I can trust this person, I can josh with her, I can have a good time with her and still do what she needs me to do. I mean, that's not an instantaneous thing. It's one of those things that takes time.
trust
Yeah.
and
Trust, yeah.
connection
Right.
connection is the best,
Yeah,
is the
and
easiest way to
hear
overcome it.
I hear that you respected her. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? She used humor, not anger, to motivate you because she knew you
Yeah.
well. And probably, I mean, as much as she wanted to highlight you guys, you wanted to prove to her you could do it.
Hmm.
You know, you wanted to take home the medal for her too.
I think she
You
got
know, it was reciprocal.
the league coach of the year last year,
Cool. Nice. Good.
which was good for her to get some recognition.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what one of those traits do you intentionally bring to your world? Like, you know, you're a great person. Why do people say you're a great person?
I
I say you're a great person.
I would say people call me a great person because of my leadership and able to stand up
Okay.
when maybe others won't.
Right.
Whether that being in the
Okay.
face of harm or just being the face of something. Um, I think I have good enough confidence to make it happen and not think twice about it, which I think is a great skill, which I'm glad
Right.
I have developed early in my age.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's a good trait that will last me a lifetime too.
Well, it sounds like you're protective
Mhm.
of others. Then you want to be able to know what again the need is, and you're protective of the world around you, of the people around you. Which that's a loyalty thing, and that's a beautiful thing to carry on in relationships, no matter where you are. Uh, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the other thing that goes into that is that you notice something and then you take action.
Mhm.
You don't
Right.
just, you know, you don't lean back and just let it happen. You're a leader because you jump in and help, or you jump in and say something when something's haywire.
Yeah.
And then people start trusting and respecting you. I'm hunching that most people in your life trust and respect you.
I think so too. I'd hope so. Fingers
And he's
crossed.
humble. He's humble.
You can weed those
Yeah.
words out that
So,
door.
so as you go into your day to day coaching those little 8-year-olds, um, what are you going to bring with you that's in your back pocket every single day?
Um, I'd say my ability to not not take too much offense to what they're saying. Um,
Not take it personally.
yeah, I mean, just like no skin off my back for the kids like not listening to me, right? I'm not, I'm getting
Right.
paid for it. Like there's no real. I'm not sweating about them disrespecting me because at the end of the day, I'm not taking any of the disrespect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think it's hard for like there's the other coaches on my team they'll have a hard time like kind of dealing with like the small like the disrespect they get, which I mean I think is hard to get over for sure. I mean, any disrespect doesn't feel great
Mhm.
for sure, but I think when it comes to coaching these small kids, I think that taking it with a grain of salt and just trying to move on from it is a way better way to handle situations than
Right.
Well,
deeply thinking about it.
Yeah.
it's like you said earlier, Max, that
Yeah.
humor all oftentimes can get you through those times, and just not don't let it land on you, and let them know it's not going to land on you, and then work it through by humor or whatever, and still hold them accountable. I think there's a way to do it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah. They don't give it any energy
Right.
exactly.
because most of the time with kids that age, it is not about you. You know, it's just maybe it's what they ate for breakfast. Maybe someone was mean to them, but it isn't about you. and the better you can slough it off. Number one, that's a really good habit to get, even habit to have even during your adult life, is to not take feedback personally, because it's not about you. And some people find it harder than others to do that.
Mhm.
But if you can learn that and keep doing it, this is not about me, and keep your focus on your goal, then they'll come around.
Yeah.
And end up respecting you because you didn't get mad at them for something they didn't intend to do.
100%.
So yeah, that's really good.
Well,
Especially,
So you really go ahead, Sandy.
Well, going back to junior high, you used to, you get teased. I remember my last name is Bresee, Bresee, and people would call me Brazier and Bra for short and that kind of thing. And I remember getting huffy about it, but when I let it go and didn't react to it, and I kind of laughed along with it, it went away because it had no power over me at all. And so people quit doing that, or if they did it, I just knew it was a way for them to be showing affection or friendship or whatever, because I didn't let it become something big.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think name calling and stuff like that, I've experienced that plenty in middle school and stuff like that. And yeah, I think having it just like water off your back, I mean, the more you think, the more energy you put into it,
right,
is the more you're going to think about it, and the more you're going to think more. Like, it's an endless cycle. And if you stop it if you stop it when it starts, then no issue.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you majoring in, Max? Do you know what your major is going to be in college?
I'm currently majoring in geology right now, but I'm switching to business marketing.
Oh, you are? Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, are you going to minor in geology then?
I'm not too sure. I'm honestly, the geology was more of a just not undecided.
Okay.
But I've realized now that it's probably not. It's probably not my forte, which is all right.
Yeah, one of those, I know what I know. I know about where my group is. But also, I mean, you're very young to have to decide.
Right.
And business and marketing very much are such broad fields that you can do anything with that degree.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%.
And your communication and your leadership, kind of fills all the other holes of the gap. And, so don't worry about it. Just and the statistics nowadays are nobody goes into something right out of college and stays in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You'll find other things to do, and you'll find your niche and find out what you're good at, and then go from there.
Right along life.
Very much the case.
Yeah. They used to give out a gold watch after you'd been somewhere for 50 years. They don't do that anymore.
No, companies aren't that loyal anymore.
5 years.
Not that they ever were, but yeah. So you've really you've had the ladder of leadership, since you were young, kind of, climbing up each step. Yeah. What do you want to do next? I mean, besides get your degree, but do you have a goal in mind, next couple of years, or what do you want to do next?
I mean, as you're saying, I'm still pretty young. I'm 18 years old, going into my sophomore year. So I'm young for my grade too. And if I'm being honest, there's not anything that I'm dead set on for sure. Which I think is a good thing. I don't think that having one thing being so dead set on, especially like so extremely wanting to do one thing, I think can be almost tunnel vision for some kids.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not giving any disrespect for people who do that, because I mean, you're driven. That's a great thing. But for me, I think keeping options open and keep seeing what I'm interested in too. Because to be honest, I have not found my niche interest yet, or I don't know if I have, at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is that, Max, you're experiencing life right where you are right now. And a lot of times we make the mistake as humans to always be looking around the corner instead of being there and really appreciating where we are at right now. And so that's cool. That's a cool thing that you are loving the experience and you're in it for what it is right now.
Yeah.
Well, and you like to learn new things, so you're open, to
Exactly.
whatever door might open.
Right.
You can peek in, you can put your foot in and decide whether it's what you want or not, because you have, you've got your own inside idea about where you fit
Yeah.
and what you want to do. One of the gals we talked to quite a while ago, she said one of the most important things in leadership is to have presence, and not like birthday presents, but presence, meaning when I'm talking to you, I'm here.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not thinking about yesterday. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Right.
And I have a hunch you're pretty good at that as you connect with people. You have presence. And that is very, very powerful. When people know that when they're talking to you, you're actually there. It's huge. It makes those great people you talked about, your great teachers and coaches. They were there when they knew what you wanted because they were there.
Yeah.
Very important.
I think eye contact is a
So,
Oh yeah.
I think eye
What?
contact is a huge, ginormous thing that everybody, no matter what age you are at, should try your very best to keep eye contact. I think eye contact maintains a lot of trust and a lot of presence,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're saying, a lot of I am here, I'm listening to you, I'm not distracted. My eyes and ears are pointed towards your mouth. I'm listening to what you were saying.
Yeah, it was interesting because somebody
Yeah.
I know yesterday is looking at some job interviews and stuff, and everything is online now, which is to me an issue. But anyway, I was trying to give some, they asked me for, for prayer for them to be able to know what to do and that kind of thing. And I said, one of the things I think would be a good thing to do is go in and meet them person to person and eyeball them. Exactly what you're talking about, Max, because we could just be a name or a number on a screen, and it's not the same impact as actually getting to meet somebody in person and talk to them. And in fact, I suggested to this person, I said, I remember a time where I had a gal who came to volunteer she just wanted to volunteer as a social worker. And because I could watch her and see when there was an opening, she got the job because she had put herself out there. I got to know who she was. I got to see the work ethic she brought to the table. And I think we're missing part of that right now in society. I think, and so I definitely agree with you. One-on-one, eye contact, shaking a hand, a nice firm shake. And it shows again that you're being present, exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. And not having my head be spinning around while you're talking,
Right.
thinking about what I'm going to say next. That is very rare. Most people think about what they're going to answer or tell you before you've even finished talking. So that.
Keep going. You keep going. Sorry.
Oh, no. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I find it to be very difficult to have conversations, but I think it is good to have difficult conversation. Like, it is good to have every conversation be difficult, because if you are thinking of what you're gonna say while they're talking, then what's the point of them talking, right? Because as much as everybody says they're good multitaskers, nobody's a good multitasker. That's just the truth. That's how brains work, right? And so I think that you and your brain is very smart, right? So you can talk and think, because that's what we do. That's what we do every day.
Right.
We don't think and listen. That's not how it works. So I don't know. That's kind of.
That's right. Listening.
No, that's called active listening, Max, is that when you're really listening to a person and you're responding to what they're saying, that's active listening versus, like you said, in your head, thinking of some kind of reaction you're going to come back with. You're not really hearing them.
Yeah.
No, and the important part about that is, and it's the most difficult part, is what after you say something, for me to check with you. Did I get you right? This is what I heard.
Mm,
Did I get you right? So that you have that, and di- um, difficult conversations. And I'm talking about the ones that where I have to tell you something negative, or you know what I mean. It's there's kind of a bone to pick with somebody. If we can actually have difficult conversations, then I can, that builds intimacy between
Right.
people. And that's sort of like you talked about when you were meeting those guys across the hall that you connected with.
mhm.
Part of the connection was you really heard them and they really heard you. And so you could build trust and intimacy more
Yeah.
quickly. So that's really, boy, I'll tell you what, that
Powerful.
premise is going to take you far,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because that's kind of the key to good relationships.
Yeah.
So that's
I
wonderful.
took this I took this
So
public speaking
good.
class this semester.
Mhm.
That's, I mean, not gonna say taught
Mhm.
me a bunch of stuff because I kind of knew how to talk already, but
Yeah.
more of like a more formal way to put things.
Yeah.
It it kind of like broadened my way of like, oh, I guess public speaking. I guess it did its job. So, um, but like being able to make a conversation,
Hmm.
having it be a lot easier and a lot like, and having to make a like having giving a thought out like not presentation but like a talk
Right.
is, it's a lot easier
Yeah.
when you're looking at the people, when you're not staring at them, you're just
Hmm.
looking at each of their eyes, you're making like interactions with them.
Yeah.
um that class really like showed me a lot of the like kind of cheat codes almost, just to like get over your own like mental hurdles and
Right.
to kind of
Hmm.
just be like, you're up there, they're supposed to be listening to you. If they're
Yeah.
not, they're not. I mean, what are you going to do? You're not going to control what they're doing. So
Right.
you just talk your talk to the people who want to listen to you.
Right.
And that's the best thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of shook a lot of kids up, I think, about like not having people listen to their presentation, which, to be honest, it's kind of surprising because they're like so scared of their presentation when they want less kids to listen to their presentation. But I don't know. But that class was
That's good.
very helpful in like telling me, or just, yeah, kind of reminding me of what it takes to have a healthy conversation and not, um, yeah, and just like speaking your mind and not being so shameful or so, uh, not like thinking in the worst way possible, I guess.
Right. Kind of getting over yourself
Yes.
so that you could just have a conversation. That's a huge hurdle, and that's good. So, Max, have you got any with your little 8-year-olds coming up? Maybe it'll be your older kids too, but what advice might you have for some kids that are, wanting to maybe dive into some leadership or just, connect with people effectively? What advice have you got for them?
I would say never take anything too deeply. I think
Okay.
I think that when it is an emotional conversation, you should take it extremely to heart and everything like that. But in instances of non-real personal attacks or conver- conversations, it's
Right.
if it's not getting to that personal level, why take it there? I think that
Yeah.
I think that there's no need to put more stress on what other people will think of you after the conversation is done, because ho- I I know as myself, I don't really think of the last 2 days of conversations I've had. It's once 10 minutes goes by, it's kind of phew,
Yeah.
out of
Right.
the brain. Because I believe that thinking back on things, and I mean, being firsthand, I've experienced the thinking back on things and over stressing about it. It really does no help and
No.
only puts a I guess, deficit on
Right.
your future abilities to maintain conversations and take leadership. I think that, yeah, I just think that you should let it roll off your back more often,
Yeah.
because realistically nobody's thinking about it
Mhm.
except you.
You've learned a lot
That's
for
great
as
advice.
young as you are, Max. You've learned a lot already, and you're going to go into life, you know, your future life, well trained and knowledgeable about connecting with people. That's awesome.
Thank you, Sandy. I appreciate that.
So, so as we close our conversation, the question we have, and we always end with this, is what's one takeaway from our conversation today? So, what's one thing, Max, you're taking away?
I like that I actually got to talk about, like, I don't know. This is fun. I
Good.
don't. I'll probably take away, like, even though I was the one saying it, I'll probably take things a bit less deeply at practice today. I'll just, like, remind
Take your
myself.
own advice.
Yeah. But
I love it. I love it.
probably the leadership traits the leadership words you gave me at the beginning about and about, like, being a great person. That was, like, I think you saying,
Yeah.
like, and you making, like, like, you mentioning that I said they're great people makes me, like, want to be them more. So
Right.
I think I'll try to be
Yeah. Yeah.
more like them today.
A great person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Sandy, what are you taking away?
I think Max gave us a really good reminder to live in the present. That yes, it's great to look forward as far as goal setting and that kind of thing, but it's lost if you don't end up living life right where you're at right now. You're missing out.
I love the way that you described how you um, don't judge a book by its cover,
Right.
and that you dig deeply to find your community. So the conversation, and it is what it is, and you're finding your peeps.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, we sure
Wonderful meeting
appreciate
you,
you being on
Max.
Yeah.
the stage with us today.
Of course. Thank you.
So we're gonna close off, but I want you to hang up, and we'll talk in a little bit. Okay. All right. Bye,
For sure.
everybody. Thanks for
Thank
being
you
on
for
the
having me.
bridge, and we
Thank
will see you
you.
next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.